Being moments away from the vacation of a lifetime and then told you can't go.
That's exactly what happened to several Triangle families. Troubleshooter Diane Wilson has been hearing from cruise ship passengers left stranded.
Not what you want to hear, right? And this all revolves around your ID, specifically your birth certificate. And turns out the one you may have always used may not work anymore. These Triangle families paid for their cruises, made their way to Florida, and had no problem getting through security. But then cruise line red tape kept them on dry dock.
It was supposed to be a vacation to remember.
We were really excited. Oh, they had music playing.
A festive atmosphere was just what Susan Ryman and her family needed after a 14-hour overnight drive from Apex to Miami. And just as they were about to board their 4-day Royal Caribbean cruise.
They just told me, you can't go on because of your birth certificate, pretty much, and they were ready to dismiss me.
Susan's birth certificate, the one she came home with from the hospital, the one she's always used.
I knew I was fine. I had an original birth certificate. What's better?
But it wasn't good enough for Royal Caribbean. Neither was Heather Carpenter's. The Cary woman was just about to board a 9-day cruise to celebrate her mom's 69th birthday when
they told us that I would not be able to board because my birth certificate was decorative.
Decorative because Heather's newborn footprints are on the hospital birth certificate. Again, the one she's always used.
She says it has to be a state-issued birth certificate. And I said, well, this is the only one I have. She says, that's not possible. And I said, well, it actually is. This is what I got my driver's license with. This is what I cruised your last 2 cruises with. And I don't understand what the problem is now. And she says, well, things have changed.
Same roadblock for Bryant Kidd of Apex.
Instantly, my heart was dropping down on my feet because I could tell.
Bryant's wife only had her hospital birth certificate.
So if we weren't going on a cruise line because of improper documentation.
But then Royal Caribbean cut the kids a break. They told them that if they got the county courthouse where she was born to fax them her state-issued birth certificate, they'd make an exception.
We're trying to find the birth certificate from a courthouse 50 years ago.
Luckily, a courthouse worker in Illinois was willing to help.
We called them up and they said, yeah, we can do this, but we need you to send us a credit card and your ID.
Problem, Royal Caribbean wouldn't let them use their fax machine, even though the ship was about to set sail.
It's a multi-million-dollar corporation, but they can't fax things out of their port. You got to be kidding, right? I mean, that's all we need is for you to fax this to the courthouse where we can get the stuff you need for us to go on a cruise that we've already paid $1,500 or whatever for. But they wouldn't even help us out.
So the kids headed to the nearest public fax machine, a mile away.
But we gave it our best shot. We ran to the convenience store. My wife had high heels on.
It worked. Just minutes before the ship cast off, Royal Caribbean got the fax copy of the state-issued birth certificate.
The whole experience we had with the cruise after we got on the boat almost doesn't make up for the anxiety we experienced before this happened.
But at least they got on. Heather and her mom had to watch their ship sail away.
Every time the horn would blow, I'd start to cry.
Same heartbreak for Susan Ryman's family.
We had to watch the boat and everybody having drinks and the music playing and, everybody having a great time. And we had to stand there on the outside looking in.
And all of these families say they weren't alone in the birth certificate confusion.
That little room with several other people, the same problem as us.
Now, some of you may be saying, so what? They should have had a passport. They should have read all this fine print. But remember, these hospital birth certificates are documents many of our parents and grandparents have used all their lives as IDs. Folks who may not have a passport going on a cruise, it doesn't require a passport. Folks who have used these same birth certificates on other Royal Caribbean and cruise lines in the past.
And about that fine print, when our passengers got their booking confirmation for their cruises, it said a birth certificate and laminated government-issued picture ID would do. Nowhere does it say hospital birth certificates aren't accepted. But when I showed this discrepancy to Royal Caribbean, a rep said they clearly state their policy in an email sent to all passengers prior to sailing. We checked, and on page 4 of 19 pages, it does say, note, baptismal paper and hospital certificates of birth, except for newborns, are not accepted.
But who's going to read every little fine print detail?
Good point, but we should all take the time to read that fine print. especially after what these folks have been through. And one more piece of advice.
Get a passport.
Oh, that is some good advice. Now, in these days of heightened security, a passport is the way to go, even for our older relatives who've never had one before. As for Royal Caribbean, they tell me it's unfortunate that these guests couldn't cruise, but their policy is clear, and they don't give refunds when improper ID is involved. That said, they did offer the Carpenters a 75% discount on a future cruise, but the Rymans got nothing. So they're out thousands of dollars, stranded in Florida, and had to pay extra to get back home, which the other people, that the Carpenters didn't get to go, so they were in the same boat, but at least they got the 75% discount.
So let me get this straight. They wouldn't take hospital birth certificates, but they would take a faxed copy of a birth certificate.
You know, we asked about that, especially since her own policy clearly states that only original or certified copy will do. Royal Caribbean told me they can accept a fax copy from an official county office if they get approval from their security specialist, but they say that was a rare exception and not the norm. So
I might take a pontoon boat next time on my vacation. That sounds like a big hassle. Thank you, Diane.